Hello YouTube! Today in my shop we're going to be modifying a moss catcher. This just goes in a irrigation canal or a head gate, and its purpose is to filter out large debris. And what happened here is this old screen rusted, pushed down. You can see the beams where the brushes would hit, and then it wouldn't hit, so it would plug up. So it bent some of the underframe. These large channel sides here are fine. I'll be taking off this chain and everything else to expose this. We're going to be doubling that screen area, so all the way the sheet metal up here will be cut out to two 6-foot long sections of screen, 1/8 inch perforation. There's also a dent down here that's really messed up, so we'll be pounding that dent out. And these bearings were a triple-lipped steel bearing. They'll be changed over to stainless steel, so hopefully that'll provide a little longer life on those since they're submersed in water. Regularly these have little plastic pulleys like you see up here on the bottom, but on this application, as you see, it's got a little kick plate here. The water hits this from the side, which was kind of a bad design. Whoever made that choice really messed up. So what happens is this chain will actually start whipping up and down pretty heavily. I mean, you'll see it operate and watch this just bounce. So without the sprockets down here, it actually just pop it off every time you get heavy flow. And this just essentially spins really slowly. It's got a lot of torque and a little slip clutch here. But I'll get to work and get everything taken apart, and I'll show you guys what it looks like after that. So I'm going to do a step-by-step. So far so good. I'm cording these up so I can grab them with the hoist and set them aside, the brushes here. This is what it looks like so far. I'll have to cut all these bolts off. They're so corroded that there is no consistent size that fits them. And this one in particular, so corroded that I can't even get a big enough bite with any wrench to hold it. So I'm just going to take the gas axe, cut them off, and replace the bolts. Luckily there's only 3 per side to get this screen out. Also seen there's some bolts there. I'm not even going to mess with them. Same thing, just gas axe. I'll double check if they're stainless, because I did find a few stainless hardware already installed in this. So whoever worked on it earlier decided to do a solid and put some in as they went along, so that's good. Progress thus far. Got a lot of the panels off. Started grinding off a few of the frames here. This one's actually pretty bent up. It looks straighter than it is, though in the camera screen it looks way off. These bars are just loosely planted in there, and they're actually on the opposite side they're supposed to be, but that's because they're slotted. To accommodate this 1-inch bar, and I'm laying them in this way because this whole structure actually just lays on some rails, so I need everything to sit on those rails and clear except for the center here. So I can actually put some thicker material in the center, but that does me no good if what I'm connecting to is kind of weak. But what I am connecting to is I upgrade this, and these are solid steel square bar stock. Shouldn't be a problem. I've V-beveled them, and I had to weld a couple in before I could flip it because I didn't want to spring the frame here when picking it. But they're just set out for reference. I'll double make sure they're square because slots are a touch oversized, and I mainly did that because I wanted to have a good fill with my weld by crossing the gap. It's turned into Beefmaster Plus. That's what I'm after anyway. So this is what it's like so far. I'm just mounting this beam now. It's not tacked or anything, just sitting in there. So I clamped a little piece of angle down there, so it's set the height I want, and should make everything, because these rails may not have been accurate up here, but they were fairly close. I think it wandered wider, what was it, 1/8 of an inch by the time I got up here, which, again, for a moss catcher, I find what I'm doing is probably reasonably accurate. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal. 1/8 inch width change. Otherwise, I'd have to chop that up there, which was original. And this down here, which was original. But I'm hoping this will solve any problem with people knocking through it. Did some math, and all the reinforcement probably, I think at most, compared to the old screen setup, excluding the fact that, you know, I doubled up screens, which means instead of a 6-foot screen in there, it's now got 12 feet of screen. But I'm only going to lose about 2 square feet of screen area with the addition of some of these and the additional middle. As you can see, it's just doubled up. I did that to offload from the exact center here, so this is less likely to dip, because then it starts transferring the weight from here closer to these rails. Here's probably the overbuilt base. Took me several days, but finally at the finish up stages. This is the last side I got to weld both sides of everything, and consumed nearly 10 pounds of rod. That's just 6-13. I had been using also some 60-11 because I got some 1 inch here. And when I was connected to the heavier stuff, I wanted some good penetration on it. So I'm just using an old AC buzz box. This thing was my great-grandpa's. Still runs though. I just try to take it slightly easy on, even though welding up halfway point on this is probably well exceeding the duty cycle. This project's been good. I've been having a lot of fun showing you guys a bunch of different little tricks with this project, as well as you know, trying some new things along the way for myself. So I don't have a clamp long enough to go down this whole face here. So this is another trick you can do. This is just a piece of scrap. You can actually use a flat plate and do the same thing. But this scrap actually works great for this. Just set her in there where we want it. Over a clamp. And that's it. That's all there is to that. This is why this project is what took so long. Look at all these cross members. I did cut accesses in the large channel down here, but couldn't do it for everything. Every time you see the same line right here, these had to be cut individually. I mean, they're all the same size, but you know, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of those pieces cut like that, just for this length. Not counting these other two here, so that brings up 14. Got some nice expand metal reinforcement on the base. Above it is a stainless screen. That was requested, so no problem. Just put some stainless in. They were having a problem with the screen bowing real heavily in the middle here. That should prevent it from doing that again. Also, more consistent spacing on all this should help alleviate the original problem. Sagging in the middle, they had one bar going up the center, so now it's got two of these. I just cut a little C in it to handle the 1x1 cold roll square. I don't think this thing's going to be a problem. You should be able to drive a piece of machinery over this and it'll take it fine. I mean, if they break this, I'm going to be kind of wondering what the heck is going on there, but we'll see. I think originally what was going on is, if you look at this moss catcher, the reason this deflector's there is the water actually enters this from the side and cascades down, and it would knock the brushes off without this addition. That was actually done by, because this is kind of owned by two people, this moss catcher. One of the owners decided to do this, and it did work. So I'm leaving that on there. If it works, it's not broke, don't fix. But I think what's going on is, since the water cascades down on top of this, it's just constantly hammering the metal until it breaks. So I'm hoping that reinforcing it in the way I did allows it to take a beating quite a bit longer, if not indefinitely, or until it's rusts away. One final step that I'm going to do in this project after I get the bearings mounted and the rest of it assembled is I'm going to try out putting some sacrificial cathodes on this. Since this is steel frame, that should alleviate a lot of the rusting that I see going on here, because some of this was just some thick rust. And since I went back with steel down here, I'm hoping to stop the rust through use of cathodes, because they do it on ships, they do it in water heaters. I don't see why this will be a problem, because it is submerged in water most of the, or well, half the year I should say. So it should offer some protection. And I didn't want to go and spray galvanize anything, because if it does have to be repaired, that makes this a real pain in the butt to re-repair, all that galvanizing. It's toxic to weld, it's toxic to heat up. So it just incurs a hazard that just doesn't have to be. I wanted to show you how inaccurate the original holes were on this. I took a measurement from the top of this machine down to here to see where the bearings mounted up there versus down here. How much adjustment I can get out of those bearings to see if I can correct some of the misalignment, and I could not. At least not the way you'd think, because that side does have a tensioning system. But when you try to align that side correctly with down here, show you that side, what would happen is the brushes would look really uneven. I did find out this side was shorter by 1/4 inch. This piece down here appeared to be mounted off just forward a little bit. So these are the corrected holes. The other thing I found is their holes were drilled way off kilter. These are their originals right here. And you can see bottom hole, top hole. And what was going on is it was actually pushing the brushes harder on this side too, which was probably causing this side to wear out prematurely. I always couldn't figure out why this side wore out quicker than the opposite side over here. So I actually corrected that too, and now both sides should be right on the money. And these bristles, if my measurements are correct, should only have about 1/8 inch preload for the brooms to clear the screen. So I'll flip it over and get this drilled. This hole down here obviously didn't turn out perfect because I'm drilling right next, but it did all right. I mainly left them small. The reason I want to do that is when I get this set, it allows me some fudge room to get some adjustments. So if something was wrong with my measurements, I should be able to correct the problem. And I'll just put some washers in there, so once I tighten it down, this will be locked and it won't be going anywhere. This is stainless steel bearing. I'm going to try this in the submerged water. They kept putting steel. Tried many different combinations of steel type bearings. They all corrode away. I tried getting some bronze in a timely manner and couldn't get any in a timely or budget friendly manner. Nobody wanted to pay, what it was going to cost to get some bronze in for this application, and I don't blame them. So for that price, I think it was pretty cheap. I think these bearings were like $20 a piece or so. I'd have to look it up, but they weren't too bad compared to bronze bearings. Project complete. Just gotta get it in the truck and get it the hell out of here. This is what a moss catcher looks like in its complete form. They have different styles, but this is just one of many. It takes these brushes, moves them along the screen, and pulls it all the way up toward the motor and just kicks it out the back there. In fact, I'll plug it in and show you guys how it looks. hope you enjoyed the video.